You're back at last. The girl with a big smile on her face made my husband pale and tremble. I guess it's understandable. I would have been shocked too if something unexpected like this happened. But this was his own fault. Let's make him sorry for all the horrible things he said, shall we? My name is Cecile. I'm 63 years old. I just gave my grandson a gift and cooked a meal for him for the new year. But it's not really that fancy. I can't help it if it's for my lovely grandchildren. However, I hate my food. When my children were young, it was a little easier to be extravagant. I have 2 daughters. Their names are Dana and Anna. We gave them names that rhythm because they are twins. My daughters told me that it was too easy to name them like that, just because they are twins. I couldn't say anything when they told them that, but actually, they were right. Dana, the eldest, was diagnosed with an incurable disease a little after she was born. Meanwhile, Anna is in perfect health. Dana was the only one who was weak and was in and out of the hospital repeatedly. I thought that we should all support her in her weak body as a family. But little by little, my husband started complaining. He did not want to visit her, and even when he came home from the hospital on occasion, he seems to find it a bit of a hassle. He loved her sister more and took her out on holidays and was by all accounts a good father to her. My daughters were just starting middle school at the time. I wondered if he was aware of the distance between him and his daughter, who had grown up in a different place, unlike her sister, who had lived with us all her life. It was not until our daughters were in their 3rd grade of high school that I learned that my husband had a different view.
Why send Dana to high school? She has been in and out of the hospital so many times, so it would be difficult for her to go on to a regular high school, right?
However, there were options for her to go on to higher education, such as distance learning courses. I wanted to respect Dana's decision, but my husband wanted her to stop going to school in the first place.
It would only be a waste of money.
Isn't that too much?
In fact, even if you pay the admission fee, she will probably end up dropping out because she can't go to school. It would be a waste of money anyway, so it would be better not to let her go to school from the beginning.
You should ask Dana about that, right? It's not your decision to make without asking her. He will say it's for the best. I've noticed that as Dana has gotten older, she feels more and more inferior to her sister. She worries that she is in and out of the hospital a lot, and that she is hurting the family financially. I know my children don't need to worry about that, but our finances have certainly been tight. My husband does not make a lot of money, and due to my daughter being in the hospital, I'm unable to work many shifts at my part-time job, so our income is not stable. With twins, there was a lot of money to spend on graduation and admission fees, and no matter how much we tried to make things right, it was inevitable that they would realize that we had no money. On top of that, my husband always says that we have no money no matter how hard we work. It is true, but I wish he would refrain from saying that in front of our daughters. But my husband doesn't care about that. He said it on the day Dana was discharged from the hospital, of all days, and it became his habit. Stop saying we don't have money.
What's wrong with telling the truth?
I don't want you to say that in front of the kids. You know Dana's worried about the money for her treatment, right?
The kids, huh?
What was that line? I kinda don't like it.
I mean, what can you do? I don't think Dana is cute anyway, to be honest.
Isn't that a bit too much? She's your daughter.
It's hard to think of a child who isn't around most of the time.
I often hear that men don't understand the pain of having a child in their bellies, so they finally feel their children are their own only once they are at home. But how can he not think of her as his child just because they lived apart from each other? I wondered if I should show some understanding and talk to him, or if I should lash out at my husband as I feel. To tell you the truth, in my mind, I'm thinking that he's being mean, and I want to be angry, but it's true that parenting has changed from the norm. I gave birth to my children, and I love both of them equally, even more than my own life. I don't understand my husband, who doesn't have that feeling, but he probably doesn't understand this feeling either. I couldn't say what I wanted to say, because I thought it would be wrong to yell at him. Anyway, you should be more considerate to your children. I knew I should have said something different, but that's all I said, and left the room that day. I avoided a long conversation, partly because I didn't want my daughters to hear. After that, my husband and I had many more arguments. He started blurting out that our family had no savings because of Dana. I was honestly not interested in hearing about it, and it was unpleasant. Frankly, it was a topic I didn't want to hear. It's not Dana's fault that we don't have any savings, is it? If anyone is to blame, it's us, parents who don't make much money, isn't it? Especially my husband, who has made a mistake at work and is stuck at his job. It is insane to blame our daughter, who is suffering from an illness that is beyond her control, while pretending not to know about our own shortcomings. I tried not to let Anna hear it, but I could not control myself as I was arguing with my husband, so I'm sure Anna must have noticed it. Eventually,
You gave birth to a failure. That's why this is happening now.
I think the fact that my husband's job performance was sluggish at the time, and he was being overtaken in his position by a junior colleague, was also a factor in his stress. Even so, there was no way I could have any love for someone who called my daughter a failure. And I gradually became aware that my husband and I were getting a divorce. However, I didn't earn enough money or save enough to pay for my daughter's hospital bills and school fees on my own. If it were true, I would have preferred to divorce my husband without holding back and following my feelings. But I didn't want to cause my daughters any trouble or leave them stranded on the street. I wanted to plan carefully. Then one day, when my daughters turned 18,
What? What is it now?
I heard my husband's voice on the phone. A real grumpy voice. Dana is dead. You have to come home now.
You've got to be kidding me. Do you know what today is?
It was a meeting for a project he was promoting. Some of his major clients were out of town. It wasn't really the kind of work that my husband could handle, but the person in charge of the project was hospitalized due to an accident. So my husband, who was in a lower position, was suddenly given the job. My husband seems to be feeling a lot better after he got the big job and got arrogant.
I'm annoyed just by looking at your face. And my daughter is not pretty enough on top of that.
He didn't even come home, but stayed at his office to prepare for the project. Rather than working hard for the sake of his family, he neglected his family and devoted himself to his work. In retrospect, to him, it seems like we didn't really matter.
I have an important meeting today.
I can't help but feel uncomfortable with my husband. What is family to you? I clenched my fists in anger. Anyway, I called him home several times, telling him to come back because we are having a funeral. He finally came home at night. When my husband saw Anna crying, he did not shed a single tear. On the contrary, he scolded her and told her to go to bed at a time like this.
What a nuisance to have a funeral on the day of an important meeting. She's not a very nice child until the end.
Saying this, my husband sat down on a chair in dissatisfaction. Immediately afterward, he noticed another shadow behind where he was sitting and quietly turned around. The smile of the figure behind him makes him turn pale.
What? Why? She was in the coffin just now.
Welcome home, Father. Dana grabs my husband's shoulder with a big smile. Ah, I'm tired. And Anna, who was pretending to be dead, gets up from the coffin. Great job, sister.
What the hell? What's going on?
Well, a successful surprise, huh?
Huh?
My husband's eyes widen in shock at Dana's words. Actually, this funeral was Dana's suggestion. She had been feeling much better recently, and it had just been decided that she would be able to live at home instead of being hospitalized. However, Anna had told her how her dad and I were doing, and she was aware of her father's disapproval of her, and that I was thinking of getting a divorce. I don't want to go home if things are like that. So Dana came up with the idea of a funeral. If my father hears that I had passed away, he might change his ways. That's why she went to the trouble of creating this setup and planned to switch places with her sister. I can't help but wonder if it was necessary to go to such length. But I guess my daughters felt that they could finally do something fun together. They looked like they were having a lot of fun when they were planning the project, and I felt bad for my husband, but I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. It was like our family bonding project. I didn't realize they hated him enough to spite him. Haha.
You should be more angry at Dana.
My husband mumbled in frustration.
You girls, how could you deceive your own father?
Are you still pretending to be your father? I'm telling you now, Mommy's thinking of divorce.
What's up with that?
I'm going with Mom too. You'll be on your own. Do you understand that you won't be our father anymore? Anna's words made my husband's face go blank for a moment. Then, he immediately turned pale and asked me if I was serious. You don't borrow something like this from a friend unless you're serious, you know. Yes, this set was specially rented by Anna from her childhood friend, whose family runs a funeral parlor. It was supposed to be given as a present for Dana. I don't know if I like the idea of a coffin as a present, but, well, I guess it's okay since my two daughters seem to be having a good time. Ha ha ha.
Why? I don't care about Dana, but I loved you, Anna.
You didn't know how much I love my sister, did you?
What?
We've been together since birth. There's no way I couldn't like my sister. Yet, you talked bad about her all the time whenever you took me out to play. Anna's cold gaze, which showed that she was really pissed off, made my husband tremble. I was trying my best to keep her from hearing things I didn't want her to hear. But kids aren't that stupid, you know. If you look at them properly, you can see what kind of people their parents are. Anna nudged Dana to agree with her. Dana nodded her head. We talked it over and decided to stay with Mom. We are 18 and she doesn't want us to work, but we can do whatever we want, part-time or otherwise, to support the family. We don't need you anymore, Dad. Anna glanced at me after hearing Dana's words. I'm sorry for everything I put you through, Mom. You wanted a divorce, but you couldn't get on, could you? Thank you for trying to protect us. But now that I'm better, we can make a living together. You're free to go, Mom. Their kind words made my heart warm. I never realized that my daughters, whom I've been trying to protect, had grown so dependable before I knew it.
Hey, think again,
is what my husband said. but I ignored him and turned to my daughters. Thank you, but it's okay. You don't have to work. What? I smiled at them. It took a while, but I actually got a better job on the side. I'd been building a little secret savings account behind Dad's back. My daughters were surprised at my words, and my husband's mouth was wide open. Even if I wanted to get a divorce, I couldn't do anything without money. I secretly studied for a certification during my travel time, and now I'm working as a medical assistant. It was hard to keep your father away from the documents. I giggle, and my husband says,
No way! When did you do that?
No wonder. I didn't even know how to use a computer until a while ago. I was just a regular old lady. But I knew I couldn't afford to be a nanny to my daughters. I was lucky that there was an ex-medical office worker at my part-time job. I have nothing to worry about because I was able to get a lot of information. I'm getting a divorce. Will you follow me? My daughters nodded their heads and said yes. My husband, on the other hand, was telling me to calm down or something. The girls called him pathetic and persistent, and he agreed to the divorce. He neglected his family for so long, but the moment he realized he'd be alone, he turned his back on them and missed them. It's disgusting. It took a long time, but I'm really glad I got rid of him. Then, it came out that my husband made a big mistake at work, and he was demoted. The bottom line is that even if my husband had attended that meeting, instead of playing a prenatal funeral, my husband would not have been promoted in the future. This development, which was no one's fault but his own, broke my husband's heart and made him lose his will to work. Now he has been overtaken by a junior colleague who is more than 10 years younger than him, and he is now an employee. Are you saying you are not being pushed around? Being used means that you are useful. My husband's incompetence has been exposed. Oops, did I say too much? My daughters offered to work for me, even though I had changed jobs, because it would be better to have some savings. But I turned them down, telling them to focus on their schoolwork. Dana had given up high school to concentrate on her medical treatment. But when she asked me if she could get a high school diploma, I said yes. Dana went on to college, and as long as she kept her health in check, she was able to find a job. Anna also went on to university and joined a local small business as a new graduate, and so on. It is not like in the world of stories, where the child who struggled did not go on to a spectacular life, but I think it is a life like my daughters. As a parent, I'm proud of them. Now Dana and Anna are married, and Dana has 3 and Anna has 4 children. When Dana, who was very frail, gave birth to a child, I was deeply moved. It was a miracle that she had 3 children. Anna's children are very naughty and beg her to play with them every time she sees them. Grandma is too old to play with them. I've started strength training for the sake of my grandchildren, but it's a secret. I don't think it's possible to have a twin grandchild, but I should say they are twins. Dana's child and Anna's child look so much alike that I wondered where the husband's genes were. From a distance, it was hard to tell which child was which. Their husbands were surprised at the strength of their genes. The grandchildren are close to each other, and the husbands are also close to each other and visit me often. So I don't feel lonely living alone when I get old. I'm in for a year. Half of the year, Anna or Dana's family comes to visit me, so I could do with a little less time alone. I think I like to spend some time alone. I'm glad that my daughters don't want me to feel lonely, so I'll just leave it at that. Well, I guess I'm going to study how to bake a cake for my grandson's birthday next month. Lately, Dana's been telling me, Mom, haven't you gotten a little rounder around the belly? I guess so. With 7 grandchildren, 2 daughters and sons-in-law, and myself, we have a cake for someone's birthday about every month. But it's okay because this is a sign of happiness. I will make a delicious cake.